Hey everyone, welcome to the Drone to 1K podcast, Season 3, Episode 1. Welcome. So we're putting this one on our YouTube channel. You'll see the full video and interview in its entirety. We also have this episode on our podcast feed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those other places too. But now we're going to start uploading them to YouTube now that we have a video feed for every podcast. We recorded them all on video. I'm going to put them here for those of you who just like to watch stuff instead of just listen to it. I want to tell you about a quick new thing that we're doing for Season 3. So first off, if you're not familiar with the Drone to 1K podcast, what it is, essentially David Young, I'm the founder of this company, Drone Launch Academy. I interview successful drone business owners. So people who are doing it part-time, people who are doing the drone stuff full-time. Essentially, I dive into how they get started, why they're successful, what tips they have. So that way you, if you're either in a drone business currently or you're thinking about starting one, can kind of know some of the challenges you might face. Or if you're trying to get clients or trying to do work now, you can get some ideas and inspiration on what to do to be successful, right? So it's all about starting and growing a drone business. So I've done this for 2 seasons. We have 20 episodes on our podcast feeds, but now we're moving into video as well. So for Season 3, we're going to have a little more fun with it. So we're going to actually do kind of a secret question. So if you're on YouTube, you might see a link below, or if you're on our website, you might see a link below, or if you got an email from us announcing this episode, there'll be a link in the email, and that is going to be to a secret question. Essentially, it's just a question about our podcast guests. So maybe some fun facts about them. I think we're doing it in the 2 truths and a lie format, right? So you have to pick the one that's not true. Right, if you get that correct, proving that you listened to the podcast, you will be entered to win one of 5 prizes. Right, so we're giving away little stuff like a T-shirt, kind of like this one right here. I've got one on. A T-shirt, a hat, a coffee mug, and then we're giving away a free course, our Drones 101 course, which we normally sell on our website for like $50, and a 15-minute Q&A coaching call, if you will, with me and that podcast guest. So in this instance, it's going to be Liam. He's agreed to a quick call, 15 minutes or so. We're not going to be like hard cutoff, but about 15 minutes. You can jump on the phone and ask Liam, or if you want to ask me questions too, that's fine. Anything you want about drones. How do you do this? What was your experience when you faced this obstacle? Whatever you want to ask, whatever advice you want to get, that's your time. And we'll record that and probably release it later as some mini kind of bonus episodes. So those are the 5 prizes we're going to give away. And you have 1 week. So we're going to release this podcast on a Tuesday, January 5th. And you have till the following Tuesday, what is that, the 12th, to get your answer in. And tell us which prizes are your preferences. And we will announce the winner in our email when we announce the following week's podcast episode. Okay, so that's how it's going to work. We have 10 episodes coming at you this season. Very excited about it. I know you all really appreciate and love the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube and you enjoy the podcast, would love it if you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. We'll be releasing all 10 episodes here on YouTube along with some more bonus content. So today we're talking to Liam of Bentley Studios, and I'm going to flip over here to the interview in just a sec. But Liam was a really cool guy to talk to. He's young. When we did the recording about several months ago, he was 21 years old. So he's either 21 or 22 now. Relatively young guy, started business, told me all about his entrepreneurial journey, always kind of had that entrepreneur bug, and has just done really well using drones and video production to build a nice business for himself. Has also gotten into roofing inspections and things like that. So we dive into all that in this podcast episode, and he kind of takes you behind the scenes of how he built it and how he started it. Really fun podcast episode to do and to talk with Liam about. So that's what we got going on. From now, January 5th, for the next 10 weeks, so that's like mid-March, we're going to be releasing these, and then we're going to have some more fun content coming after that. So hope you enjoy. Again, remember to hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see when the next episodes are going live, because you have a week to fill out the secret question in the link below. So thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoy the interview. Take care. Everybody, welcome to the Drone to 1K podcast. Today I have Liam on with us. And what's your business name, Liam? Remind me one more time. It's Bentley P&V, photo and video?
Yeah, so it's Bentley's photography and video,
Okay.
but I'm actually just changed it to Bentley Studios to make it a little easier to remember. So
Sweet. Short and sweet. I like it. So
Yes.
Liam with Bentley Studios with us on the first episode of season 3 of the Drone to 1K podcast. Pretty pumped that we're actually in a third season here. But yeah, welcome, Liam. Why don't you
Thank you.
just introduce yourself maybe and give us like a quick background of like who you are and like a
Okay.
little short snippet about your company. And we'll dive into like the full story later, but just,
All right.
give us.
So again, yeah, my name is Liam and I own now Bentley Studios, and I specialize in photography and video, kind of in every different aspect, mostly just in the wedding industry. So I average about 40 weddings a year between photography and video, and then actually incorporate the drone into those wedding videos when I can. But then I also do a decent amount of relating photos, inside, outside, and then aerial as well. And then I also do a lot of stuff for roofing companies. So I'll go out and take photos of like the transitions of projects as they are completed, and then kind of put together a time lapse for them afterwards.
Cool. I like that. That's neat. All right. Thanks for the rundown. I like to start typically on these podcasts kind of going back to either when people first started using drones, but it sounds like maybe in your case, because you're kind of encompassing kind of like all photo and video.
Yes.
So, which, it's fairly common, it's like a drone is just a tool. So a lot of times it's just a piece of someone's arsenal, So maybe let's go back to when you first started getting into like photo and video, just period, and how kind of your business started from the beginning.
Yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 15. My first business was an iPhone repair business.
Nice.
My older sister was notorious for breaking her phone, and I always loved to take things apart. And I'm like, why not make this into a business? And did that for 3 years. I repaired over 300 iPhones, kind of saved that money
Nice.
to then fund the photography business.
Real
I
quick
got
question:
yes.
how much would you charge to fix? This is not an iPhone repair podcast, but I always love diving into like
Yes.
entrepreneurial stuff. So, how much would you charge to fix an iPhone?
So back then, I was able to get the screens for around $50. I
Mhm.
worked with a company called iCracked. Basically, it was kind of like an Uber for iPhone repairs.
Okay.
So people could go on to this app and see what technicians were around and were able to book you. So average repair was between like $130 to $200. And they
Cool.
were certified Apple screens, so you weren't getting any cheap knockoffs.
Yeah. Cool. So you were just like a part of that kind of like network of
Mm-hmm.
people who could fix the phones.
Yes.
Sweet. Cool, man. So how much money were you able to save from doing all the iPhone repair stuff?
I saved around 10 grand.
Sweet. That's awesome. When you
So
were a
yeah,
teenager?
yes.
Jeez, dude.
Kind of want
That's
to,
awesome.
I always kind of have that idea of like, all right, what can I do next? And that was the first thing, and just kind of got me skyrocketed
Yeah.
into the next aspect of it.
How old are you now?
I'm 21.
21. Awesome. Nice. Yeah. Dude, we actually have had someone on here who was a senior in high school too, and they had a
Okay.
drum bit. So I love to hear from the younger side too, because I get, we get people who are like 16 who are taking their Part
Mm-hmm.
107 exam and wanting to do it. And, we have people who are also like retired too, that are saying
Yes.
like, oh, retired and now I just want like a cool hobby. So it's fun to kind of get like the broad end of the spectrum. So,
Mm-hmm.
all right, sorry. I keep interrupting you.
You're
Carry on.
good.
Sorry. So you've saved up 10 grand. Carry on.
Yes. Yeah. So I got my first camera was not when I was 13, and just kind of loved to take pictures of whatever. And then in high school, was the school photographer. And then that led into one of the teachers asked, she's like, hey, I see you take photos. Would you ever have any interest in filming a wedding? I'm getting married next summer and I want to give you the opportunity to do so.
How
So
old were
I'm
you at the
like,
time?
I was 16, 17,
Nice. Okay.
and did the first wedding, sweated through 5 shirts. Uh, it happened. I got through it, and I'm like, I really enjoy this. I love being a part of so many people's special days, and then the final product of giving them their video or their photos, seeing them tear up. That means the most to me. I'm like, I want to do this.
Cool. And so, and you were like 17 then. So did you just dive into it at that point?
Yes, I started doing like social media videos, simple stuff. You're kind of limited to a minute. I would reach out to local businesses and be like, hey, I'm a starting business owner. I want to try to get into social media. I see it's an upcoming platform. I see you guys are kind of lacking in the area, and I'd love to kind of help.
Hmm.
So a lot of free jobs
So
off and
outside
on.
of even just outside of even just like wedding stuff, you just were diving into video production in general.
Because
Nice.
I felt like the more experience I had, the better I would get.
Yeah, man. Awesome. So you were just kind of offering those for free at that point.
Yes.
Nice. And what kind of reception did you get when you'd reach out?
I'd actually get some turned down. No, we kind of have our own thing. We don't really want to dabble into that. And then some were like, yeah, for sure. We'd love to have you come out. We value that you want to do it for free, and we want to give you the opportunity to do so. And then it was more of, I valued it as a networking opportunity.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
never know where those opportunities will lead you.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I'm not sure if you've listened to any of these podcast episodes, but it's funny. You always hear similar, um, like similar methods, right? So a
hmm
lot of people are like, yeah, man, I just got out there, shot some free stuff, built up like some experience and a demo reel and connections, and then it seems like that's a really good way to get started. So that's cool to hear that you did that too. Was anybody like
Yes.
offended that you said, hey, like, how did you delicately say, like, your stuff kind of sucks? Could I take a shot at it?
Yeah, I kind of experienced a lot with the iPhone repairs because people didn't really understand that when you repair a screen, it doesn't fix your whole phone.
Yeah.
So I was kind of fortunate. I had that kind of experience of people turning me down and giving me attitude that I was like, all right, I can try to find a happy medium and
Yeah.
not offend anyone, but then also help them out.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, it's probably great that you had experience because a lot of what people I think experience in the beginning or something that kind of turns them off is, it's hard to, if you're not used to dealing with rejection, you kind
Yes.
of feel nervous, like, oh, well, I don't want to bother them and I don't want to, I want them to say no. So it's probably awesome that you had that.
Yes. No, I valued it very much, and
Cool.
I feel it very benefited me.
So you started doing this, and then when did you start getting paying clients? Like, how did that transition happen from, dabbling with free stuff and reaching out to businesses, and how did that progress into your first paying client?
Yeah, kind of toward the end of high school, I started doing a lot of senior photos,
Okay.
being that I was close with everyone in my school. The clientele was already there. And then it kind of led to more paying opportunities. And then every once in a while, I'd try to reach out and get opportunities to film a wedding. And then just kind of went over time, as I started to have more to show people, I started getting booked more and just kind of led to more opportunities with that spectrum.
Nice. Did you find after you started doing more work that you were getting like word of mouth referrals or
I give a lot of my success for just word of mouth.
yeah.
Um, I'm one that loves to go out and just talk to people and create those friendships, and I feel that a lot of my success have been from those relationships.
Nice. So you're doing senior photos. I'm assuming the parents were probably paying for the senior photos, not the high school
Yes.
students.
Yeah. No.
So how did you convince, who were you selling to? Did you try to get with the parents and be like, hey, I can do your kids' senior photos, or were you talking to your friends and your friends were convincing their parents?
More of my friends, because it's just easier. I knew them, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, you take photos. Can we hire you to do our senior photos?" It made it easy. They didn't have to go out and find a photographer,
Yeah.
and they
It's
just
awesome, man.
convinced some parents to, "Hey, you pay this kid. He wants to take the
Let them
senior
do the selling
photos."
for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
That's awesome. All right. So you started doing more weddings and you're getting into that. When did you start? I guess when did you start first dabbling into drones?
So I'd say around the end of my senior year, I bought a Phantom 4 Pro
Nice.
and fell in love with it. I had little drones off and on before then, but nothing substantial whatsoever. That they were
Okay.
more just like little RC cars that
Yeah.
I ended up crashing and whatnot. But at the time, wasn't many people local that had any drones. So I'm like, hey, maybe this is a good opportunity. At that point, I just registered it. I was able to, wherever my weddings were, I just contacted the venue. Was like, hey, would you mind if I do this? I'd give you the footage in return. I'm not licensed or anything at the time, but I want to try to see if this is even something that I'd want to do.
Gotcha.
And then as it started picking up, I'm like, all right, I need to get my license and get everything checked out so then I don't have any issues down the road.
Nice. Cool, man. So, I'm guessing when you incorporate the drone stuff, that's just kind of part of your package, right? You're not like charging extra for the drone, or are
For
you?
the weddings, no. It really just depends on the venue. Sometimes I need to request access to fly there. And I've had some venues that have charged me a fee that if I want to use my drone, I have to pay a certain amount. I
What?
know,
How much
because they
how much of
feel
a
like
fee?
it's like 50 to $100. So it's nothing crazy, but it's more of the security of the venue. They're like, all right, if this kid really wants to use this drone, he's going to have to pay us.
We're gonna exploit him because he
Yes.
wants to use it. So what's their justification for having a fee?
I think it's just more of the safety aspect of it, that they think that, oh, if he doesn't really know what he's doing, he won't pay the fee.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Do you usually get like any type of like liability insurance specifically for the drone, or you just kind of
Yeah, so I have drone insurance now.
okay?
It's also with my business insurance. So it's like I
Yeah,
was to get a combination of it. So
cool.
now, like venues, I'll give them the proof of my insurance. I'll show them my license, and then usually no one ever has any issues.
Nice, nice, cool. All right, man. Well, that's awesome. So, so how did you? So, I guess you were saying you kind of just started doing free work for people because I think one of the issues that I'm trying to not uncover, but like help people with is, a lot of people they say, "Cool, I've got a drone. Like, how do I go out there and like actually like start getting clients and like
Yes.
paying gigs?" And so that's something I love to try to dissect when I talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you were just started contacting people to do free work and it just kind of turned into paying gigs, or did you have a different
Yes.
strategy of like, okay, hey, it's time to start making some money with this. I'm going to make like a concerted effort to go find paying clients.
It was more kind of a gradual increase that I
Mm.
started out pretty cheap, and then over time, I had more experience, my portfolio got larger. I'm like, all right, now I can gradually increase my prices because of my experience and then what equipment I had at the time.
Yeah. Were you doing any like cold calling for business, or were you just like doing free stuff until people started contacting you for work?
More of that, a lot of free stuff, and then someone would see it on Instagram, message me, hey, would you want to do this for me?
Mm,
And then it just kind of large spider web kind of just expanded. And
yeah,
I'm fortunate, I was just a lot of networking that led to those opportunities.
cool. Now with so I'm do you what do you do for like your social media stuff? Do you have like a system that like, cool, every time I shoot something I put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook? Or, I mean, do you have anything like that, or is it just kind of like casual whenever you get to it kind of thing?
A little of both. I'd say I somewhat have a system for my new business page, that it's
Mhm.
very after a shoot or after it's always I always try to nice have a grid on Instagram. So that's the first thing
Okay.
people look at when they go onto your page is your grid. So having, whether it's like a color photo, black and white photo, a color photo, so it looks consistent. So it
Oh, so
doesn't
you're kind of doing
look.
like a theme with your whole like feed on
Mhm.
Instagram. Gotcha.
Yes. There's a lot of times when people like see your page, they click on it, and if it's too like eclectic, they just kind of like bypass it. But if it has a cool look to the grid, or like some people like to have, whether it's like 6 different photos and it's actually just one photo.
Yeah.
So when you look on the grid, you see it's actually just one photo, but it's actually 6 different posts that combine the one photo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool. Well, that's awesome, man. So I'm gonna keep moving through maybe some of your business
Yes.
stuff. So you're getting into doing some wedding stuff. You've done some free work. How much kind of, I guess maybe at this point, like earlier on, were you charging for a wedding?
Starting out, I was around $500 for the wedding.
Okay. And what would you like? What would they get for that?
Usually like an 8 to 15 minute highlight video,
And would you do just a video, or are you doing pictures too?
just a video for that price.
Okay, cool. I mean, that's pretty cheap as far as weddings go.
So yeah, I was more of like, I just want the experience.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's more like, all right, down the road,
but you're
if I
still a
have
teenager at
these.
this point, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
So I'm like $500 for a Saturday,
sure.
spend a week to edit it and then give it away, and then I'm done with it.
Dude, that's awesome. So, all right, so you're doing $500, and then you said as you're getting better at it, you start
Increasing
charging a
over
little bit
time.
more. So when did you start? So you're doing a bunch of weddings. When did you start kind of breaking out into kind of some other areas?
So I'd say toward the end of high school, I got more into the drone stuff. So I felt
Hmm.
like I love doing it. It's like a video game, being able to take the drone up and get a different perspective.
Yeah.
Um, so locally, there's where I'm at. There's tons of realtors. Like I feel it's crazy how many realtors we have. So I would reach
By the
out
way,
to
where
them.
are you? What part of the country are you in?
I'm in Ohio,
Okay. What part of Ohio?
Youngstown.
Okay.
It's like an
Cool.
hour away from Cleveland, Pittsburgh,
Gotcha. Okay.
right in the
Cool.
middle.
Hmm. All right. Sorry.
Uh,
So a bunch of realtors in your area.
yes, there's it's crazy. So I would just reach out on social media. I'd see a lot of them are just using their like iPhone or like a cheap point and shoot just to take these photos. And I'm like, hey, I want to give you this opportunity. I want to up your photography. And I'm learning. I'm starting new. I would love to do a couple houses for free. So at that time, I was trying to incorporate more of the drone, just to see that being there many realtors that didn't have drones or had someone to do it, that I could kind of become the go-to drone pilot in the area. And that's where I kind of fell in love with the drone, and I was like, this is cool. I love
Yeah.
doing this.
So are you hitting them up on Instagram or Facebook
More
or
Instagram.
yeah?
I
And how
find
would you?
locally for me, it was all the realtors are Instagram
Yeah.
because they
So how would
kind of
you?
focus more to the
Oh,
younger
sorry.
generation. You're good.
Gotcha. No, sorry. I didn't mean, didn't mean to keep going. So how would you find them on Instagram? Are you just searching for like hashtags of like, Youngstown
Hashtags
real estate or something?
hashtags or the real estate companies. Is
Okay.
usually those realtors would follow those pages, or that
Okay.
company would give those realtors shout outs on the main page.
Gotcha. So you're just looking for that, contacting realtor,
Hmm.
shooting him a DM saying, hey, can I do some free houses for you? And are you doing just photographs or are you doing like videos of the houses too?
Just photographs.
Gotcha. And did they like that?
Hmm. No, yeah, I actually landed. I still have a good 7 realtors that from the beginning at end of high school that I just messaged on Instagram that I still do houses for.
Cool. Now, when did you switch from going? How did you switch from saying, "Hey, here's a couple free houses"? Did they then ask you, "Oh, I like these. How much do you charge to do this on a regular basis?" How did that conversation go?
It was more at the beginning. I was just like, all right, I'll do one house for free.
Oh,
And
okay,
then after that, let's sit down and let's see what kind of price you're looking for.
okay. And what? How did that conversation go? Like, what did you guys end up landing on?
I found realtors can be pretty cheap and don't like to spend money.
Just laughing because I literally feel like it's a broken record. Every time I
Uh,
have someone on the podcast, they say the same exact things. Sorry, but curious. Go ahead. So, how did that conversation go?
so we kind of came to a happy medium. An average house for me now is $150 just for the photos,
I
and then
mean, to be honest, like from what I've heard talking to people, just for photographs, that's pretty good.
I do bracketing. I don't know
Okay.
if you know what that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah,
So
well, why don't you
take three photos.
explain it for the podcast?
Yeah, so on a lot of DSLRs now, they have this option where you could take 5 or 6 photos or as many as you want, and then every photo is at a different exposure. So it's going to bring out different parts of the photo. So if you have a lot of windows, it's going to take one for the exposure of inside the room. It's also going to take one for the exposure outside the window, as well as one in the middle. And then I have a software that puts them all together. So you see, like on a lot of these realtors, like high-end houses, these photos don't look real, and it's
Yeah.
because of the bracketing that you're able to
Yep.
put those together and then bring things out to make it look almost fake. But
Yeah.
realtors love it. So,
Are you using Lightroom or something else for the software?
um, yeah, I use Lightroom for the most part,
Yeah.
and then I actually use what's it called? There's another software I'll have to look and see what it is, but you literally just plug the photos in and it does everything for you.
Nice. Yeah, I've seen a couple softwares out there that are like specifically for real estate where you upload your multiple photos, put them together and like
Yes.
messes with all settings. It's like, how real do you want this to look? And you can like drag the
Mm-hmm.
slider and it just looks like a cartoon versus like real life.
Yes.
Yeah. So for the people, yeah, you did a good job explaining it. Basically, like if you took, and if you really don't know much about photography, exposure is basically just like how much light is like coming in, like the brightness
Mm-hmm.
of it. And so if you take a picture, like you were saying, like adjust it for the inside, like your eyes do a good job, like your physical eyes do a good job of like adjusting for the light in both. But cameras, if you adjust it for the inside, it just looks like heaven is coming in through the window. It's just like
Yes.
super bright and washed out. So you kind of have to like do that. And then you do the other picture where the inside's now super dark, but you can see outside. And then you use a computer program to put them together. And now you can kind of like see both, and it makes it look cool. So
Yes.
nice. So you're doing the bracketing. So you're doing photos inside and out. You're doing like interior photography and drone photos and other exterior photography too.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. I thought you were saying $150 just for drone photos.
No, just
I
for
was
the
like,
inside photos.
just for the
Drones
inside
usually,
photos.
yes. A
Okay.
drones is another 100 on top of that.
Okay. So $250 for like a full photography package.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. So that sounds like ballpark of like what we've like.
Yeah, I find locally it's pretty reasonable, and that's
Yeah.
really like the most they want to pay.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, so how much of this business are you doing now with real estate? Is that like part of your main thing, or are you still kind of more focused? Sounds like you might be still more focused on the wedding part.
More focused on the wedding. I'm kind of leaning more towards that. I have 4 employees, so we all kind of divide. And yeah, so for weddings, we try to split up. So sometimes I'll double book weekends. I'll send two people to one wedding. I'll go do the other wedding, then another employee, and we kind of go back and forth. So I try to
You're 21
focus.
years old. You got 4 employees.
Yes.
Get out of here.
So I try to focus more on the weddings. That's where I find the money is at and whatnot. But then I still do during the week. I do a decent amount of aerial photos for roofing companies.
Okay. So before we jump into that, because I am very interested in that, and I think people will be interested in that too. With your wedding business stuff, are you now doing photos for weddings too, or still just video?
So we do both. So we'll do your photos and your video.
And so how much are you charging now for, like, let's say I'm getting married. By the way, I'm already married, but let's say I'm getting married.
All right.
And I'm like, all right, I'm getting Liam to do my wedding. I want video and photos. What's the price point for that now?
So for my videos, they're 8 to 15 minute highlight videos that kind of showcase the whole day. And you have complete control over what's in that video. Well, you want more of one thing or less of the other, or you want your full vowels, that kind of thing. Those average between 2,000 to 3,000 just for the video.
Okay.
And then photos, I go by an hourly rate of 300. And then there's not really a max or a minimum on the hours, being that we're already there.
So that's hours at the event, not like that doesn't include like editing and any of that stuff.
No,
right?
that's
kind of wrapped in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
average wedding for me is between like 45 and $5,000
for photos and videos.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow. That's awesome, dude. And are you doing, I mean, it sounds like you have a team now. So are you doing all the video editing yourself, or are you kind of still splitting that up with your team?
I do all of it because I feel it's more of people book me for my look and style.
Yeah.
That I feel like if I give it to someone else, it kind of takes away from that.
Yeah.
So right now I take control of all of it. It's somewhat of a pain to edit everything, but I have a pretty good system and I can get pretty quick through things.
That's awesome that you mentioned that, because, I find the people on here who are making the most money are the ones that, when I say on here, I mean like people I've interviewed on the podcast. Ones that are making the most money are the people who like kind of like focused on something and they develop a system and they can just like bang it out super fast.
Yes.
Because they
that's what I found over time, that I kind of dabbled in a little bit of everything in the video and photography realm, that like you just said, once you kind of find your niche and you hone in on that, you can be very successful with that niche. Usually that's what you specialize in.
Dude, I think that's awesome advice. And I think that's something that people need to hear, because a lot of times they're like, oh, I'm going to start a drone business. Like, oh, what are you going to do? And at first they might not know like what the opportunities are. They're like, oh, well, I'm going to do like wedding videos. And I'm also going to do like, orthomosaic maps for architects. And I'm going to do, it's like, you might be able to do all those at like a 5 out of 10 level, but like after a while, you probably want to like lock it down a little bit more, Yeah. So I think that's great advice. So, all right. So you got the wedding stuff. That's probably heavily weekends. You said during the week you're still shooting some for photographers. Now, are you doing any like are they ever interested in like real estate, like walkthrough tours for these residential properties?
Yeah. So I'll actually get those every once in a while. They like them for social media. So whether it's a 30-second a minute walkthrough of the house, that I'll usually just put my camera on like a 3-axis gimbal, walk through the house and record that, and then toss in some drone footage and then call it a day.
Are you, how much are you charging for something like that?
$150
Okay.
for the
Nice.
walkthrough.
Yeah. 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 And then, so you do a little bit of walkthrough. It sounds like the photography is what people like the most.
Yes.
So now let's shift to like, so how did you get into doing some of the roofing stuff?
Actually word of mouth through the weddings.
Okay.
I
Through the
find
weddings.
yeah, weddings actually.
Okay.
People love drones at weddings. I don't know what it is. They just think it's like the coolest thing, especially when they have some drinks in them. Uh, that it just kind of led to different opportunities that I met. He owned a roofing company locally, and they specialize in like schools and large commercial properties.
Cool.
And he's like, hey, would you want to come out? I kind of see what you do. Would you want to come out and kind of film the progress of projects? He's like, we love to show clients the start and the end, but also how everything works in between. And then he's like, we can also use it for something we can kind of display to potential clients to be like, hey, this is what the progress looks like.
Yep. That's awesome. So are you mainly just working with that main company, or you have other ones too that you work with?
I have other ones I work with, but the main one, I do about 5 shoots a week for them.
Whoa. Just with one company, they must be doing a pretty good amount of business then, huh?
Yeah. Right now they're doing a lot of schools, being that they're all closed for the summer.
Oh, yeah.
It's the perfect time to redo their roofs.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's awesome. And I think that's just such a good example of like, hey, you just got to get out there, start shooting stuff. And especially with you, right? Like one thing leads to another, right? You're shooting a wedding.
Yes.
And then, that leads to the roofing thing. And, we hear so much of this is like the hardest part is just like getting it moving. It's like rolling a giant boulder, right? It's like hard to push it at first, but once you're rolling, like it's a lot easier to get other stuff happening.
And I'm one that always try to kind of be a part of a lot of different things. I'm one that it's sometimes a negative. I kind of run myself short, but I love to be a part of different aspects of what I do. I'm also on the board of a local technical school as a media specialist. So I get to work with high school students, whether they're interested in drones, film, or photo, and kind of help teach classes, but then also give them a perspective of someone closer to their age of what they can do. Kind of similar to what you're trying to do with this podcast, to kind of show, all right, there's opportunities out there. You just got to look for.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I love that. Real quick, I had a thought. I'm going to jump back quick to the wedding. You're doing drones at weddings. How do you, I mean, I don't know, for people who have never flown a drone before, like a Mavic or a Phantom, like those things can be pretty noisy. Sounds like a swarm of bees. How do you tactfully integrate that into a wedding?
Yeah. So I have a Mavic 2 Pro right now, and the noise compared to the Phantom 4 is like night and day.
Oh, really?
So you can be pretty stealthy with it. I try to incorporate the drone, whether it's an outdoor ceremony or if it's on like a large property that has a lake, or if they're exiting the church after the ceremony. So it's not like during the ceremony where it's going to cause any noise. It's more of the after effect.
Sure.
So it's not a distraction and people are looking at the drone more than the couple getting married.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so do you ask the couple, hey, do you guys want a drone or not? Or do you just kind of say, I'm doing it?
I bring it. It's always there with me.
Yeah.
If I have the opportunity, I'll incorporate it. But I'll also contact the venue beforehand and just make sure there's no restrictions or anything, and get permission from them beforehand just to make sure that I don't get the cops calling me because I'm flying the drone. I'd rather have all my
lined up.
Everything, all my ducks in a row beforehand.
Yeah. So it's not like, all right, do you take, it's like coming over their head.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome. All right. So roofing. So how much are you charging? So real quick. So what you're doing for these roofing companies, it sounds like are you taking the photos from kind of like the same exact angles each time, or like what kind of photos are you grabbing for them? And so it sounds like you're doing kind of a couple questions. Let me clarify.
Yes.
What kind of pictures are you taking? And then like, how often are you going out there to capture them?
So for each project, I usually go out once a week. or once
Okay.
every 2 weeks. And then I'll take photos. So I usually take about 15 to 20 photos, different angles, different heights, but usually always a 360 of the building. So
Okay.
a picture at each angle to kind of showcase the different progress of the roofing stuff. I try to keep every shoot different so then it doesn't look repetitive because they like to see different perspectives.
Okay.
So I'll take about 15 to 20 photos, but then I'll spend about 20 to 30 minutes in taking video. So usually I always start with like a 360 of the building, but then depending on what section of the roof they're working on, I'll focus more on that section for this week.
Gotcha. So it's like different kind of, so it's more of like a live, well, not live, but they're a video look in at the
Yes.
roof each week.
So then so I actually, after each day, I'll edit them and I'll upload them up to Google Drive and send it to them. And then they'll actually send it to the owner of the building. So then they can
Cool.
see what happened this week on their project.
Nice. I'm guessing that probably helps a lot with their like client satisfaction, if you will.
Yes. Yeah, it gives them a sense that, all right, they're actually doing work this week, where it's worth the money we're paying them.
Yeah, 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 for sure. That's great. And so how much are they? So you're doing this every week. I mean, how long is a typical roofing project on one of these commercial properties?
Usually 8 to 10 weeks.
Oh wow, so it's pretty good amount of
So
time.
depending on how large the building is and what they're doing.
Yeah,
Some of them are like 3 4 weeks if it's a super small job that they just need to
yeah,
go fix something.
yeah.
But
So how much are you getting paid to do? I mean, if you again, I'm asking you like kind of
yeah,
invasive questions, so
no, you're
you know,
good.
share what you want. But for a job where you're doing some of that video and you're capturing, whatever you said, like 15, 20 photos in every week, like on a typical job that's say like 8 weeks long, how much are you charging or getting paid for something like that?
So I charge per shoot, and it's $300 per shoot flat rate.
Okay, and that includes like the video and doing your
Yep,
editing and all that stuff.
video, photos, and then access to the cloud service.
Okay. So let's say 4 weeks, one job, that's like what, $1,200 a month ish, and maybe
Mm-hmm.
two months. So like almost like $2,500, give or take, for like a
Yep.
full job like that. That's awesome.
And
So
then, so I'll do the 8 to 10 weeks, and at the end, I'll put together like a minute to 2 minute video that's kind of almost a time lapse of the whole
gotcha.
project. So then they like that to see that afterwards to also show the owner of the building or to show to potential clients or this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So you don't really, I mean, I was kind of like spying on you a little bit beforehand,
Yeah.
a couple minutes before we did the podcast, because I was just trying to look at your stuff. I didn't see a whole lot of, I definitely saw the wedding stuff come out, but I didn't see a whole lot of the roofing stuff. Um,
So a lot of them, they don't like them to be shared
oh, really? They
on
just want them for
social media.
themselves?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So are they
So a lot
using
of
it
them
on their own stuff for like marketing, or just for their clients?
just for their clients.
Okay.
Depending on the properties and who owns the properties and what kind of agreement they have, it's more of they like to keep everything in-house.
Okay. So they're never like, hey, can you make us like a highlight reel for our website that we can show? None of that
Mm-mm.
stuff.
No.
Interesting. Okay, cool. Well, hey, I mean, that sounds like an awesome opportunity. Um, that I honestly, I don't think we've heard that specific application before. We have some people do a kind of like the roof inspections, or kind of
Mm-hmm.
helping get like, taking an ortho of the roof to do like the estimate and stuff like that.
Yes.
Do you ever do any of that, or just they just want the photos of kind of the progress?
Just the photos and the video. I feel like being that I'm more gradually into the more wedding industry and the more
Yeah,
kind of fun cinematic stuff, I
true.
enjoy doing this stuff more.
Yeah, yeah, that makes
Uh,
sense.
and it's a different look and a different perspective.
Yeah. I'm always just curious as to kind of like your clients, or like people who hire drone pilots, the kind of stuff they're looking for, because it kind of
Mm-hmm.
helps people who have never done any of this stuff when they're approaching a potential. Let's say they're like, okay, I'm going to go to this roofing company. What am I going to like? What's my pitch? Like, what is my value that I'm going to try to bring them? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So I think hearing your experience and people like you, it helps them know, oh, here's some potential helpful applications that maybe a roofing company in my area could use. Gives
Yes.
them kind of an angle to think about. So I think
That
that's really
they,
cool.
whether they care less about the technical stuff, they just want something that looks good to show clients.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of crossover, at least from other people we've talked to too, like in just kind of general construction too, like,
Hmm.
progress of their different construction sites and things like that. So so you started with that one roofing company, and it sounds like you have a couple other roofing companies on board. Did you kind of see what they wanted and you reached out to other roofing companies, or how did that work?
Actually, from the one roofing company. So I don't know. They don't like when I share their drone stuff,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming they share it with other roofing companies or partners.
Uh-huh.
And then I've gotten contacted from their partners.
Huh. Okay. Like competitors?
No, more of whether it's kind of, I don't know, it's like a roofing network, you could say.
Okay.
That the main roofing company I work for, they're all brothers.
Okay.
So I think it's more of that they have connections with other companies that whether they share projects or if they're
Gotcha.
overbooked, they give them the projects.
Cool. It's the
But
people that kind of
it's on,
collaborate with.
yeah, so it's more of just I've networked with, they share my product with them, and then I get those in return.
That's awesome. So you said you're working with like how many different roofing companies now at this
About
point?
3 roofing companies right now.
Okay. And like between all those, you said you're doing like, well, just from the one company, you said you're doing like 5 shoots a week.
Yeah, so it's a pretty large company.
Mm-hmm.
They do their average roofing project is like $5 to $6 million. So they're pretty large, substantial projects.
Oh, dude. So like 2,500 bucks for you. They're like, they don't even realize that it's
Yeah, no,
gone.
this is like no. They're like, hey, yeah, sure, whatever. We'll send you a check. That's fine.
Oh, dude, that's great. So
But then
that's
the other ones are pretty small companies.
okay.
So I may have like 1 or 2 shoots from them every 2 weeks.
Still, that's not bad. So let's take a snapshot of Liam's life, like
Yes.
this past week. So you got like, sounds like you're a pretty busy guy. So you got like weddings on the weekends that you have like some staff
Hmm.
that people help you with.
Yes.
During the week, you're shooting photos and occasional walkthrough videos for residential real estate, and you're doing a bunch of stuff for roofing companies.
Yes.
Is that right? So like, how many jobs, how many drone jobs would you say you're going out to, or sorry, drone/video production jobs if you're counting weddings? Like, how many of those
Okay.
are you going out to every week, would you say?
So so last week, I had 3 drone shoots
Mm-hmm.
for the roofing company.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually had 2 promotional videos for local businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually doing small like about me stories that they can put on their social medias on their website.
Cool.
That especially with this current situation with COVID right now, a lot of people aren't able to go to these businesses.
Okay.
So they want to give the opportunities for people to sit down and watch kind of what they offer online. That's
Mm-hmm.
where everything is right now. So I've been
Right.
doing a decent amount of those, but then I had a wedding on Saturday.
Cool.
So average week is between like probably like 5 or 6 jobs.
Gotcha. Cool, man. So, and again, I don't know if I guess people could kind of do math in their heads. If not, but like, would you be comfortable sharing like in a typical like maybe a good month and a bad month? I'm assuming things might be slower in the winter up there, or is it the
Yes.
same?
Um, Weddings. No, people like to get married in the snow.
Oh, okay.
Um, but once the snow comes, really, then kind of shuts down. The
Yeah,
commercial roofing projects kind of shut down.
gotcha. So, would you be comfortable sharing like what is your like an example sample revenue in like a great month and a sample revenue in like a slow month?
Yeah. So come June, July is kind of when weddings pick up.
Hmm.
Everyone's getting married. Everyone likes the warm weather. So I average between 4 and 5 weddings a month at that point. Sometimes both photo and video, sometimes just video. And then usually three projects during the week. I try not to run myself too short,
Hmm.
so that everything gets returned in a decent amount of time. So I'd say on a good month, 10, 12,000 between everything. On a slow month in the winter, 3, 4, 5,000, depending on how many
Nice.
weddings.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. That's a great business, especially for 21 years old. My
Yes,
goodness.
I'm very fortunate that I've um, kind of dabbled into this young and kind of have taken it.
Well, I mean, dude, that just says a lot for you. I mean, most people, I don't know, at your age, are just kind of, I don't know, maybe have
I was
a
never a
bad.
party person. I never went to any parties. I was like, all right, I got to work on the weekends. I got to work. I got a business.
You know, most people are
Um,
just like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, and you're here just, making a bunch, making a bunch
yeah,
of money. So that's awesome. You should be really proud of yourself.
thank you.
Um, well, all right. Well, we're coming up to. I try to keep these between like 30 and 45 minutes. I feel like
Yes,
I could talk to you for another hour, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. Um, I'd love to have you on. I don't know. Maybe we'll throw you
yeah,
in season 4 too. But before we go, though, I always like, I guess, two things.
yes,
First, if you were talking to someone who's like, "Hey, Liam, I love drones. I want to start a drone business. What advice do you have for me on like how to get started and get going?" What would you say?
yes. So I'm a huge DJI guy. Starting out, I always say start with the new Mavic Mini.
Hmm.
I got one just to have.
Yep.
It's a hoot to fly. It's a great like starting point. Um, get that, mess around with it for a while, and then over time, once you feel more comfortable, jump up to like a Mavic Air or to the new Mavic 2, and
Hmm.
then start studying for your license. I
Cool.
feel, especially with drones, being that they can be, it's more difficult to kind of jump into than your normal, like, let's just go take some photos on your, like a camera,
Hmm.
that you need that experience before you feel comfortable enough to get on those bigger jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. And although the drones can quote kind of fly themselves, at least if they have the
Yes.
GPS, um, they can fly themselves, but that doesn't mean you're going to get anything that looks good unless you've like practiced and kind of know how to like
Yes.
get smooth shots, right?
Mm-hmm. So that for me, I watched a ton of YouTube, ton of
Yeah,
YouTube videos and tutorials on like how to get good drone footage.
yeah, yeah. That's great. So sounds like you're a super learner too, because like you're just
Yes.
digging into research and all this stuff.
Oh yeah. I like to know everything beforehand so I feel comfortable with it. So then I'm
Yeah,
not nervous on the shoot, or
and
people don't
then
question.
yeah, and then so that's kind of a great way to get started. And then what would you say when they're looking? Hey, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to get my first client. How do I do that? Like, what would you say to them on getting their first kind of paying client?
I'd say social media is
Yeah.
a great platform to use. Everyone's on it. I'd say jump in with the realtors.
Hmm.
Yeah, they don't pay very well, but starting out, you're not going to make very much anywhere.
Hmm.
So I think the more jobs you get under your belt, the better.
Cool. And just so you start DMing a bunch of real estate people and
Yeah,
just trying to get the
everyone's
jobs.
on Instagram. They love their
Nice.
social media stuff.
Love
So
it.
then in return, having a grid that kind of
Yep.
showcases what you do.
Okay.
So having a lot of drone stuff, if that's what you want to focus on, that when they click on your profile, they, oh, he has some cool stuff, and it's organized.
Yep. Cool. I like that. And then finally, where can people find out more about you? And we'll link up your
Yes.
website, Instagram, all that stuff in the show notes. But just in case people don't go to the show notes, where can people find out more about you, your company, all that?
Yeah. So you should just be able to Google search Bentley Studios,
Okay.
and then my website and my Google My Business will come right up. But then my website is bentleystudioususa.com. And then on social media, I'm bentley.studios. And then my personal one is Liam Bentley _15. And that's where I'm at.
Sweet. All right. Well, thanks, Liam. I really appreciate it, man.
Yes. No, thank you.
And I hope to have you back on in the future.
Yes.
But yeah, you shared a lot of awesome stuff. Congrats at a lot of
Thank you.
success at such a relatively young age. Loves talking to you, man.
Awesome. No, thank you for having me on.
All right. Appreciate it.